You ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn, hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew?
Oh, I do.
Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 14th episode of Trollin HGC, a Heroes of the Storm podcast focused on esports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. I'm your host, LiQuid, and I'm joined today as usual by Bahgz. How's it going, man?
What's going on, LiQuid? Glad to be back. Glad to be back before I go on hiatus.
Yeah.
I think I've got one more show before I have to go on like a 2-week or 3-week hiatus. September's been a good month for us.
September has been a good month for us, and we need to sit down because we got some guests coming on. We need to work out scheduling with those guys, and I have a goal for us before we get into BlizzCon. Before we get to BlizzCon, I want to have our intro redone.
Oh yes, it's fun. I had that like bumper that we thought maybe we could use for the intro, and I gave it to Daz to kind of like put the finishing touches on, and then it was one of those projects that fell through the crack. We need to. It's a good point.
Yeah, we need to go back over to that and fix that. I am just adding some stuff real quick. All right, so before we jump too far into all the stuff we're gonna cover this weekend or this week.
Yep.
This weekend, including stuff from this weekend. Let's go ahead and thank our Patreons over at patreon.com/trollsgg. That is shared with the Nexus Trolls. We share Patreons, we share Twitch, we share all of the things because all of the money that we get out of any of these sources are going to go straight to the BlizzCon swag fund. So you can PayPal us, you can subscribe to us on Twitch. You can hit us up on Patreon, all of those ways, and all of that money is going to end up coming around and getting given away at BlizzCon when we get there. So, help us out any way you want. The other thing you can do to help us out, go ahead and hit us up on iTunes, give us a review. That'll help get us more visibility on iTunes. Or, if nothing else, just go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are still looking for 100 subscribers so that we can go ahead and name our YouTube channel correctly. So
I saw that the Trolls YouTube channel is getting there. They're up to 48.
Yep.
It's about almost halfway there.
We're definitely getting closer. So, yeah, help us out. Any way you help, we appreciate because we use all of that just to try and give you guys better content. And speaking of, so Daz and I usually get together on Wednesday afternoon and try and pick out who the troll of the week is going to be. And he mentioned a name, and I'm like, how have we not had this person as our troll of the week before? And he's like, I really don't know, man. So we're going to go ahead and thank Alebeard this week. A lot on the Nexus Trolls and to a lesser extent here, but a lot of his content really gets used in both shows. Frequently, he will go ahead and TLDR new large Blizzard releases that aren't necessarily patches, and we use that a lot of the time. So thank you, Alebeard, for all of the things that you do, not just for us, but for all of the Heroes of the Storm community.
Yeah, man, it's nice what he does for everyone.
It's great,
it's a great resource, especially when you got to put things in layman's term real quick.
Right. All right, so let's jump into some news. Mopsio. It's no secret. I really do like the boys over at Zealots.
Yeah.
Right. We both
fair
do.
enough.
We both want to see them do well. And problem I have is he was not a good player when he was paired up with Munefair.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that being the
my
issue?
take on the whole situation is that Mopsio, I guess I we're not set up for it, and I probably should have set us up for it. There's a Twitch clip in the Reddit thread that we have linked in our show notes. So if you guys want to check that out, you're not up to speed on what happened. Basically, Mopsio, he was in Hero League. For whatever reason, Munefair was playing EU Hero League, and they got matched up together. Munefair is a very popular streamer, was streaming at the time. One of his viewers clipped what happened, which is previously the team had engaged without Mopsio playing the ETC tank, and he got upset about that. And then he was typing in chat. Munefair was like, oh my God, it blocked him because he was going crazy in chat. And then on their next engage, he's like, all right, well, if you guys like engaging with that without me, I'm just not going to help you at all. And during the Immortal phase on Battlefield of Eternity, Mopsio completely bailed, started slash dancing. Then he moshed on absolutely no one, and then he hearthed back to the base. The entire team obviously lost the team fight and died. My take on it is it's not so much that like, and I don't want to say it's against the grain, because I think the punishment that was handed out to him was fair. And I don't know if we covered that just yet, but is that it wasn't so much that he was toxic and like, get this guy, like, you know how like Reddit and Twitter can come out, they come out with the pitchforks, they come out with the torches, and it's just like this Village versus Frankenstein mentality, right? Where they just want to roast this guy alive, right? And I hate that. I hate that whiplash mentality.
Well, you saw that with an NA stream. Who was it? Now I can't remember, but immediately it was posted this morning, and then DB Smiley was like, dude, what the, like, really, Reddit? Like, we saw success in EU, and so we're gonna blow up on an NA guy because he wasn't even he was not doing nearly the same thing Mopsio was. He was being a little not toxic, but not, I don't even know how to describe it. It was not nearly the same, right? I mentioned, like, my thoughts on this now that I've had a little bit of time to gather my thoughts on it, is it was just really just like poor sportsmanship, petty, kind of kiddish. But I wouldn't go so far as to say toxic is like, I wouldn't go so far. Toxic to me is like when someone's like, you uninstall the game, you're so bad, go kill yourself. You know what I mean? That's, to me, that's toxic. Like literally verbally harassing someone. I didn't see that. Now, very small context in a Twitch clip. We didn't have like the whole thing. Now Blizzard has access to that. I'm sure they went back and watched the tape, so to speak. But to me, the punishment matched the crime in this instance, which was, it was poor sportsmanship. He is an employee of Blizzard now. In particular, the fact that they're not sponsored, and we should mention this. Remember when it was 2 weeks ago, we brought up the fact that Trent wrote an article that Mopsio requested of him. Literally Mopsio requested of him. How can teams get sponsored? Let me tell you something. Going out and acting like a kid and embarrassing yourself in public, not a good way to get sponsored, buddy. No. That being said, I think people just came out of the woodworks like, this is disgraceful. This is that. Like, yes, he embarrassed himself. He shouldn't have done that. But I'm sure we've all been like to a point where we're very frustrating and like maybe doing things that aren't in the best interest of like good faith. But I will say personally, I don't think I've ever done anything like that, but I'll get like cheeky with someone. If someone's really getting under my skin online, you know, I can get a little trolly and a little sarcastic, and maybe I won't try my hardest because of it, but because I'm frustrated, but I don't like purposely throw, because I think that's a little absurd. Yeah. 7-day ban was the result of this. Cannot play this weekend. And that's going to hurt him more than anything, right? Like now when you guys need a win and you need to like stay on track for where you're at, 7 days, you're out. Like, sorry, man.
He's gone for one game. They're going to have to play with a sub. They're competing for seeding in the playoffs. I think at this point, it's a safe bet they're going to make based on this past weekend's results. It's a safe bet that they're going to make the play, or they're not going to be in the Crucible. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're ahead of LiQuid in the standings. But that's what they're competing with. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think they play LiQuid this weekend. So it's a very important matchup. Missing their shot caller, their captain, it's kind of a big deal. really hurting his team and letting him down in this case. And I think one of his teammates responded to the Reddit thread at some point. Was it Pollock? Was it Pollock who said something that he was disappointed? Somewhere's in here. We have the link we have is to the single comment thread that Blizzard responded to. And then, not to get off track, Ogre brings up a great point in Twitch chat that I mentioned. I got to the brand manager for Ballistics on Twitter, because he came out and said that he feels like pro gamers don't need to be role models, and I said,
"Well, really?"
And then no, listen, and the argument he used was, look at Conor McGregor, and I said, listen, man, you're comparing oranges to apples. That is a sport where, like, literally, like, trash talking to, like, build up the hype for a fight, a physical fight.
Right.
Completely different. This is like, he is hurting Blizzard's brand because he is a paid employee of Blizzard right now. So they are in every right they're in the right to punish him. Okay. Now, maybe that's not what he's arguing. He was just saying that they don't need to be role models. I guess, I don't know. Like, Charles Barkley literally did a commercial where, like, in the 90s, I forget for who, but he was like, I am not a role model. And I mean, Charles had his issues and probably isn't a great role model, but it's a great debate, right? Because they're public figures and these are people that kids look up to. Right. So it is a great debate. No,
it absolutely is. And it's important, right? Super Dave in chat saying he's conflicted about the pro game ban. When this first came out, I was torn, right? I'm like, okay, well, he was in Hero League. Hero League's not the same as HGC, but at the same time, the rules are pretty straightforward that you're going to be a good sport, and straight up that was like bad sportsmanship all the way around.
That's what it was. And it's in their contract, I believe. I feel like I read it somewhere. So they do have a link to it in accordance with our rules.
Yep.
They have to like conduct themselves professionally. And like Ogre said in chat, and I think I meant to mention it and I glossed over it because I got sidetracked. I easily get sidetracked. Sorry. In the NFL and baseball, there's a personal conduct policy. Like, you have to behave yourself outside of not just in the games, but outside of the games. Otherwise, you can get suspended for, a set amount of games too, because if you violate the personal conduct policy. Not saying you have to go and be a Boy Scout everywhere, but just, I don't know, be respectful. That's all. That's it. It's really that simple.
Yep, I agree.
So that's what happened to Mopsio. He's out for 7 days, which in Heroes terms means he's out for 1 week of games.
So next up, Blizzard announced Play Like a Pro. This is interesting to me. So Blizzard's going to take pros and have them play with viewers and
I really like this.
Help them to be better on Twitch.
I love this. I love that they're doing stuff like this.
I do too. And first game is going to be tomorrow, man. And
I have work. I won't be able to watch, but if I'm free, it's something I would turn on. Like,
right.
It's to me, this is interesting. This is like, here's an admission. I'm not a huge Twitch guy. I struggle watching people just play video games, but if there's something more to it, like I can watch a podcast on Twitch. That's entertaining to me. It's a show.
Right.
I can watch obviously eSport matches, or I can watch scrims like we had last night. Yep. I don't know if we linked that in the notes.
We did not.
They bring something else besides watching someone play a video game. I guess there's almost like there's an entertainment, more of just that extra entertainment factor to it.
Right.
This is something I could watch because there's something you can take away from it. It's something I can learn if I'm trying to improve my game. You can watch these players and how they interact with viewers.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, and it's good for the players too, because like Trent said, this is like something that Blizzard is helping them do. It could help build their brand.
Right. No, absolutely. I like it. It feeds all the needs, right? Also, I don't know if you noticed, this kind of popped out and then kind of didn't get discussed that much. Dignitas signed Nabi as a coach, so they have picked up a full-time coach now. So
I didn't catch this at all until you put it in the notes.
Okay.
It's awesome. Good.
Right? I'm happy with it. More teams need to grab more coaches, in my opinion.
This is the second big three brand in EU to pick up a coach from NA, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's weird how that works, at least to me. That, it's just both teams hired a coach that they respect, I assume. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hired him.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And trust their opinion and their take on things, and to guide the team as a coach. They trust someone from a region that historically is significantly weaker, at least for the last 2 years. It's just interesting to me, but good for NA and good for Dignitas on getting a coach.
It blows my mind personally. I'm just like, wow, so NA can coach, but
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's weird. I know Dunk was like prospectively coaching, but I think I don't know if it was we'll never know. Dunk never said, as far as I know, he never said on Town Hall. I didn't hear whether it was a monetary thing, a logistics thing. Who knows?
Right. He actually
or whether he just wasn't good enough for what they were looking for. Who knows? But
right.
It didn't work out. We know that. That would have been a cool story.
Yes. I would have loved that story. I still love that story. I still think it's a great story.
They did win a clash with him coaching.
This is true. This is definitely true. And then Heroes for Irma. Do you wanna talk about it this time, or you want me?
Go ahead. I didn't get to read. I mean, I read it, but I didn't get to read the full Reddit thread. I just kind of I noticed it on Twitter. Was it before I went out the door this morning?
Right. All right. So Heroes for Irma, just like Heroes for Harvey, similar cast of Twitch talent going to be casting starting Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern through Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, working on raising money for all of the Hurricane Irma affected people. Another really great cause, and they raised a decent amount of money for the Harvey victims. So looking to just do the same again for the Irma victims. So great charity. It'll be back on twitch.tv/Heroes for Charity again. And yeah, like everybody should be checking this out 100%. And
they don't have a date for it, right?
Yeah, Friday. No, it's this Friday.
It is this Friday. It says Friday. I thought that just wasn't sure if it was a Friday. So it's this Friday.
Yeah, this Friday, 9 p.m. to 9 p.m.
9
Sunday.
p.m. to Sunday, 9 p.m. 48 hours. Okay. They do not have a donation link yet, though. I noticed. I've got the Reddit thread pulled up.
Right.
Now.
The donation link isn't there yet, and the schedule hasn't been finalized yet. But they still have 2 days. And Nelstar was actually traveling today, so I imagine more work will get done either tonight or tomorrow on that. Okay,
great. They do have a great streaming lineup.
Yeah, no, another great streaming lineup, so it should be great.
So, all right, cool.
You want to jump into some results?
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. All right, so let's see. All right, while we go over this, I have the top 5 plays of Phase 2 Week 8 scrolling through. And then when we there's a certain point we're going to go ahead and swap that to something different when we get there. But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on the top 8 plays top five plays. Sorry. Woo. I'm
been a long week,
dude.
people.
I'm still not on my game after getting swapped around earlier, but that's okay.
It's been a long week and it's only hump day,
right? We can do this. All right, so China is actually heating up nicely. SPT has decided, we're gonna be in number 1 place, and we're taking this. Sliding into the lead after picking off CE 2-0, which I gotta be honest, I called that game 1-1. I am highly disappointed in what happened there. I thought we were going to get... I went back and watched it, and clearly SPT had it going on. But, in my Master League challenge, I'm stuck at 53, and I'm trying to break the top 50.
China keeps killing me, man. I'm like 500 points behind you because of China. I'm like... I just forget to make the picks on so I miss like a day or 2 days of where I just get zeros. So I made sure to pick up the rest of my picks earlier today, but it's killing me. Anyways,
I nailed like every other Chinese game except for Super Perfect Team C.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, really? Like, seriously? What happened there? But it was a great game, a great series. Beyond the Game also like just freaking killing it right now, catching up to CE. Hot Lady and RPG continuing their
their descent into relegation.
Relegation, right? And then, but next week, this should be interesting. We don't normally cover China games on which ones to watch, but next week we do get Beyond the Game and CE on Monday. That will be a great 2-game set, so check that out.
I might have actually another interesting one. I forgot to write it down in notes. Is the 4th place team versus SPT? So that's the 1 versus SPT.
Yeah, the 1. Yeah,
those are. Yeah, both of those teams are playing next week. Both on Monday, I believe.
They're doing good too. The 1. They're
correct. Both them and Beyond the Game coming up from the amateur scene through the relegation system. It's very impressive.
Absolutely. And then all right, so over to Korea. Tempest beat L5. That was a great series. I believe I called that the other way. Which is okay because it was a great series. But the one that really threw me off. No, I got that one right. I called Tempest 3-2ing L5. All right.
You've got your challenge stats up right now.
Of course I do, man. Of course I do. Every time we cover this show, I got my challenge page up. The one that threw me off though was Blossom beating Mighty. What just happened? And they won 3-1. I went 3-1. I said Mighty was going to beat Blossom 3-1. No, my friend. Blossom beat Mighty 3-1. And I was just like, well, thanks. I wanted those 30 points.
Oh, no.
That's cool. It's all right. I got my...
How do you I mean, probably now's not the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I found it.
I was going to say, I'll be happy to tell. Because you know what I can't say enough of? I know we focus on HGC, but all of you guys watching this show or listening to this show, obviously you're interested in HGC. You should definitely check out masterleague.net and do their challenge. It's cool. It's just pick winners and pick the score. And it's actually really nice and really fun. It's one of those things that's a little distracting for me. It gives me joy during the week to pick my games.
Absolutely. I think it's too late now, but I think for the 2018, well, maybe we can implement it in one of the tournaments coming up is when they do the tournament challenge series. And we'll have to pick the winners and see how we
compare
each week we'll keep track of it. Say, hey, we'll take a look at the preview and say, yeah, I'm taking them 3-2, and you'll say, yeah, I'm taking them 3-1. Then we'll come back and revisit the next following week.
I can do that. Yeah. We'll definitely maybe for BlizzCon.
Just stealing an idea from a fantasy football podcast I listened to, where they would not only would they talk about fantasy football at the end, they would talk each game. They would say, I'm going to take the Bengals here, and the other guy would say, I'm going to take the Browns.
Right. No, I like that. I definitely like that.
And now that I've got it pulled up, I had L5 beating Tempest 3-1. That obviously went south.
That's a 60-point swing though, because I got 30 and you didn't. You missed 30, right? It's not technically it's a 60-point opportunity swing, right?
Yeah.
And Ogre, I will throw this out there. I mean, I know we talk about masterleague.net a lot because really all the uploads go there. They're always first on who's on what team, etc. But if you really want fantasy HGC, go check out rosterpocalypse.com. That's another one that I play on, just not quite as often, because Rosterpocalypse actually lets you do fantasy.
Yeah, it goes for KDA and takedowns and everything.
Right, and you do straight up fantasy, and you pick your team. Like my NA team is only 6 points out of being over cost, right? So it's definitely cool. Check it out. If you want a true fantasy HGC. But Master League, we live on Master League, right? Between looking at game scores and
Navi mentioned it. It's such a good resource in chat. I mean, we pimp it out every show, but and we're going to mention it again in the discussion later when we take a look at the meta. And it's just a brief look, but every week, there was that 1 week or weekend where the Master League guy disappeared or whatever. He was traveling, and we were freaking out. It was just because it is so powerful. It is such a good tool.
Right, and we use the heck out of it. So all right, let's jump into EU. So Fnatic clinched their BlizzCon berth. They're definitely auto-bidded in.
They're going, man.
They're going.
They're going.
Auto-bidded wasn't quite right, but they're going, which is awesome. And then, actually, hold on. I'm just going to answer chat since we're talking EU. Actually, Ogre, Rosterpocalypse was created out of the EU Rosterpocalypse. If you remember, quite bit ago, there was a diagram with like this person went from this team to this team, and it was like this weird like Venn diagram of all the players shifting between teams in EU. That's when Roster Apocalypse was formed, and
it was after BlizzCon 2015.
Was it 15? 16.
I think it was after 2015. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. Like there was a time when ADRD and Schwimpy were both on Dignitas.
Yes.
And they are not on Dignitas anymore.
Right. So it was at that point, but that it was an EU roster apocalypse when that happened. Yes. So that's when that happened. That's funny, Bahgz. The play you want to go over when we hit NA actually just played through the
it's
of the
happening
week.
again.
Yeah.
Don't you worry, it was that good.
All right. So Fnatic clinched and then Tricked beat Team LiQuiD, continuing the decline of Team LiQuiD from being a team that was top 3 to a team
like
that is
a rock, like a part of the core of EU.
Right. And now they're on the bubble. Like I can see a world where Playing Ducks pushes them down into 7-8.
Here's the thing: they beat Playing Ducks this week, so they distance themselves from them. They're probably not going to be in the Crucible. DB will have that article out tomorrow, and we'll get to look at it better. But
dude, I'm just saying, like,
it's crazy though, right?
The reality is I think there's probably still a small chance.
I mean, it's crazy. You can't. I've been saying this for like 3 weeks now.
Right.
And this is the team that went to the Clash. They were the second or third team out of EU going into the Clash. They looked better. Like after not making the midseason brawl and like struggling a little bit at the end of phase 1.
Right.
They looked better. Like they hired Zeus. They looked better. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy.
I don't think anybody does.
The first game against Tricked, old school LiQuiD. Looked great.
Yes.
Next 3, back to whatever this mess is now. Cable version of LiQuiD.
Right. I agree completely. And all right, I'm gonna let Dave's Superstars play has finished. So we're gonna turn off ye old YouTube and turn on the Firefox YouTube clip that you wanted to play. Setting it up here for you, my man.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and run that. It's got like 7 minutes of video in it. We should have time to cover NA.
I thought I had a timestamp.
You do, but it's right where it starts. So NA roll 20, first place where they belong. Crazy that Even in Death took a map off of them, but I'm really happy that Role Place has overtaken GFE. Makes me happy. But Tempo Storm, like they barely beat Lag Force 3-2, and then Superstars came in and was like, "What's up, Tempo?" and then beat them. Now Superstars has struggled for a while, but then came in
this entire phase.
Right.
I like literally this entire phase, entirety of phase 2. Superstars have struggled. I don't know if they like Sray's back, so there's that, but and Urho's back to full-time tank,
right?
But and Tempo, like, I don't know what's going on with the role swap thing, because Cattle was playing tank again. Like I'm like, and Fury's playing mouth. I don't know. I wish we could. I wish that we had more ins with the players so we knew what was going on, right? But I don't think anyone does, except for the the team itself and maybe some of the other players in HGC, but they don't really talk about it, right?
Right.
So they struggled against Lag Force. It was sloppy, but they won. They got the win they needed. But then they got smacked by Superstars. And again, Superstars has looked weak. Now, you can make the argument that maybe Superstars was like, listen, we are back-to-back with Lag Force, and we need to put some distance between us. Maybe that's what it was. Like they were my pick for the Crucible as recently as last week. They've essentially, by beating Tempo, played their way out of that.
Right.
But I don't know what's going on with Tempo. It seems like because they haven't made roster changes in so long, they're just trying to mix it up and see if they can get something to work that can bring them to the next level. What they were doing wasn't working.
Right.
But right now, it's just shooting them in the foot. And if they don't figure it out quick, playoffs are going to roll around, and they are not going to have what it takes to, like, the auto bid's out off the table as far as I'm concerned. They're not going to be top 2 in NA.
No.
So they've got to win the playoffs. And as recently as last week, I said it was a toss-up with them and Team Freedom, right?
Yep.
I don't see that anymore.
So let's talk about Team Freedom here, because we're watching their crazy core defense at 2%. which they then went and won the game off GFE, and then continued to win, beating GFE 3-1, and then beating Space Station Gaming 3-0. I'm sorry, that was Gale Force, but Team Freedom beating GFE 3-1 is an impressive feat in and of itself, right? And then,
in particular, this game 3 core defense,
and then win, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. And then we had GFE also losing 3-0 to Space Station Gaming. Seriously, what is going on in NA? I mean, I'm happy because it means that, Roll20 is sitting on top, but what is going on?
So there was an argument that Gale Force was hiding strats and hiding drafts when they played Space Station, and they just gave it away, which seems silly. Although they didn't mean to give it away, but they thought they could win without revealing their entire hand. That there was a lot of that. But to me, it looked like Gale Force was having Gale Force in both series. It looked like Gale Force was having Gale Force problems, which is they're just not all on the same page. Sometimes they look great, and then sometimes they just look there's the entire team's not on the same page. Half the team's doing one thing and half the team's doing something else.
Right.
There's shot calling, there's issues in comms almost.
And it's interesting because Cavalier Guest pointed out today, when Fan thinks the team that he's playing against requires a respect, he'll play much better than he does when they don't. And there's a case to be made that, from Gale Force's point of view, Space Station Gaming didn't deserve that respect, as it were.
Yeah.
I think when you're this close to BlizzCon and the top 3 is that tight, that's never the case.
Yeah, because they could have just knocked themselves out of an auto bid. Right. Why go through the chance of losing in the playoffs?
Right. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. So they really hurt themselves this weekend. Now, I could be wrong. Equinox came out and said that when they faced Gale Force, they attacked their weakness, and they felt their weakness was team fighting. And they took comps that were strong in team fighting, and they tried to take them off maps that they were strong on, and couldn't get away with that global style that they play. They're a very macro-based team, and Space Station tried to take them to more micro-intensive maps. And maybe there's something there. Maybe Space Station was able to play them that way, and that was it. I don't know. To me, I guess they must have enforced their will onto them some way, because Gale Force looks sloppy.
Right.
So, and the clip's done playing now, but how do you have 5 players and Team Freedom has 3? And now I'm the biggest Team Freedom homer out there. Team Freedom had 3 guys with 2 guys down.
How do you not finish
lose
that
core
call? I don't know, man.
What happened?
I still don't understand how that went down the way it went down. It was just
crazy. One of the craziest things I've ever seen in Heroes. It was amazing, though. I mean, as a Team Freedom fan, I loved it.
So every once in a while, I'll download a replay file so I can go back and I can look at it later, because you can get them on Master League. And I downloaded that one. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and really try to digest what the hell happened there, because it was a mess.
Yeah. I wanted to rewatch the series before the show. I didn't get a chance to. I might anyways, just because things are really starting to get interesting as we're getting closer to the playoffs and the end of the season. Right. I do want to mention, Rush Hot's brought it up. GFE's boot camping right now.
Yep. Well, and so is
another one of the teams is boot camping. This I did not know.
Why am I going blank? Oh my God, what's wrong with me?
Chat, help us out.
Wait, no. Wait. No, it's just GFE. They started boot camp today. All right, just GFE. Next week another team hits boot camp.
But here's the thing, I just a shout out to them, as an org. I mean, you and I are fans of the org. You've mentioned it before. The owner of the org goes out of his way to he wants a winning team, right? We mentioned this when they were doing the player swaps. That org is not an org that's just here to collect brand identity and make money off their brand, right? No, this is an org that's out to win. He throws money into this winning. So shout out to them for doing a boot camp for a regular season matchup.
Hold on, because we got to stop for a second.
All right,
hold on. Nabby, how are you asking GFE to hire you as a coach. Are you doing Dig now? Like what? And more importantly, follow us on Twitter. I want to hit you up. We would love to talk to you about how the whole being a coach for Dignitas came to be.
Oh shit! I did not even put 2 and 2 together. We have the Dignitas coach in chat right now. What up, dude?
I'm just saying, like, hit us up, and yeah, we'd love to talk to you more and get some insight. By the way, also.
All right. And long story short, I was just trying to make a point that it's a team that I don't want to say money isn't an issue. Like, but they are willing to do these extra things to try and win. Like, they have a huge match coming up this week.
Right.
It's not it's not even like a boot camp before playoffs. Like that's 3-4 weeks away. It's the arguably
match. It is the
match for NA. It's GFE versus Roll20. They're boot camping for it.
Yes.
So shout outs to the org for doing that. I personally, a little biased, want Roll20 to win, but
same.
I really hope it's competitive. I hope it, and I really hope it's competitive, and I hope the boot camp helps.
I think we will get the best game out of NA that game, but we're jumping ahead of ourselves because that's definitely in the preview, and I want to talk more about that.
Sorry.
That's okay, man. It's okay. So, let's just hit some international things real quick.
Yep.
So, ANZ and Latin America both have their finals coming up on September 30th, which is going to be awesome and decide who are those last 2 teams coming in from ANZ and from Latin America, respectively. Over in Southeast Asia, Deadly Kittens did qualify, and they actually ended up being the first team to qualify based on when they won versus when Fnatic won. So they were the first team to qualify for BlizzCon this year. And then Soul Torturers also qualified for BlizzCon, having beat Team Face Check in the grand finals. So I guess that's a long way of saying it looks like the normal names are going to be at BlizzCon this year.
Yeah. It's the same names we've been seeing from all the clashes for the most part.
Right.
And all the internationals.
Nomi is number 1 seed right now in ANZ. Red Canids is number 2 seed in Latin America. Thunder Awaken is actually ahead of them. Shout outs to Thunder Awaken. You guys are doing awesome. Genre, the manager, does Heroes Hype work and they're scrim partners for the team I manage. So
that's awesome.
Good luck to you guys. I'm hoping you guys beat Red Canids because it would be awesome to personally having talked to one of the teams,
their manager.
Yeah, right. Like that's pretty cool.
That'd be an in, man. We could the manager at BlizzCon when we're there,
right? All right, let's preview a couple games. So a lot of games, but I highlighted the 5 that I wanted to call out specifically. One of them actually for a bottom spot in the bracket, but most of them have like some kind of.
I thought the orange stood for legendary.
No, it was. This is going to be a good game, but this is not going to affect the top end of the bracket.
Not legendary,
right? So like my first game I highlighted was noon Friday. We have Tricked Esports versus Team Expert, right?
Yeah.
Both of them with very similar records. Both of them looking to get a good seed going into the playoffs. I don't think either of them can take Dignitas at this point. I think Dignitas might actually pull themselves a rabbit out of the hat and end up with an auto bid spot. But you want that number 3 spot. If you can't get the number 2 spot, you only have to beat 1 team at that point, right? So your odds immediately go up.
Well, looking at it right now, Team Expert is sitting in 4th in Europe. In my opinion, they're probably the number 3 team power rankings wise.
Okay.
But they're sitting in 4th. They have 1 more loss than Tricked. They're 6-6. Tricked is 6-5 currently.
Yes, and if you look at their overall, it fits right. A few more maps won for Expert versus Tricked. It's going to be a good game. I expect that one to actually be one of the better games that we see this week. Or
Absolutely.
This weekend.
We get to see how Tricked stacks up, in my opinion.
Right.
And I think they're close.
I agree. I think either team can take this. I'm giving this one a 50-50. I currently have Expert winning 3-2.
Oh, I'm gonna have to pull up my Master League again real quick. I should have just left it open.
Always leave it open, man. While you do that, I'm gonna give a shout out because our boy Super Dave is like a crazy Superstars fan. They will be playing at 5 against Space Station Gaming, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Not to mention, we mentioned it on Twitter, but Super Dave, our Super Dave in chat, is the top cheer for Superstars.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Yes, he is.
You guys were wondering.
So kudos, buddy. I think they have a chance at winning that game. It's not like this close to the end of the season. I'm focusing just on the games that are going to be critical to the end of the season, and that one's not going to make a huge impact on who goes where.
I've got Expert up 3-2. I'm taking Expert in this one, 3-2 over Tricked.
Yeah, see,
so
we're both on the same page, right? We both picked the same, so that's cool. All right, then on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we have Good Guys versus LiQuiud. Now look, Good Guys is going to the Crucible. I don't think they can get out from under the Ducks and into 6th place. Like there's no way they can mathematically get out of bottom 2 position, right? But I think they can set Team LiQuiud up to have to like fight it out or like come to a tiebreaker with playing Ducks. The way Team LiQuiud's playing, I could absolutely see Good Guys taking series off of them. Did
you go that route on masterleague.net/challenge? Jizz?
I did not. I feel really bad saying that. All right, so there's 2 sides to that, right?
Okay.
While I absolutely think Good Guys can take the game off of Team LiQuiud,
yeah,
I still have to go. I still have to play the odds here, and I think Team LiQuiud wins that 3-2.
Same. It's literally the same exact pick. Team LiQuiud in 5, and right. I think Team BKB and boys is gonna hang tight.
They could absolutely win too, right? I'm not trying to say they won't win.
Yeah.
I have to play the odds on Master League because I'm trying to place top 10 in Master League. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I want to consistently get my predictions right, and I think that goes 5 games. Now, on the flip side of that, Freedom versus Space Station Gaming, which will be at 5 p.m. Eastern. That actually has a little bit of top of the bracket kind of decision making. We've seen Space Station Gaming do some weird things, and we've seen Freedom fall apart at odd times. If Space Station Gaming can beat Freedom drops down a peg, right? And that could open a spot for Gale Force Esports to get through. Gale Force Esports is playing Lag Force on Saturday. They could trade places with Team Freedom on Saturday and go into the game against Roll20, number 1 and number 2, right? On Sunday. So
it's true.
That game has playoff
There's a lot of implications on. It's like a domino effect.
Right.
That's a great way to put it. What I like about it is it's 2 like team fighting oriented teams, right? So like Team Freedom, that's one of they're known like at the Clash. That's what they were known for as one of their strengths. They are a team fighting team. That is what they are looking for. Now they have gotten better at their macro play. They learned a lot from the EU teams at the Clash. And Space Station, again, a team fighting team. Like literally, like Equinox came out and said it when they finished up with Gale Force the other day. Like, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes, especially with how really strong and well Space Station played, minus like Game 3 against Gale Force.
Right.
And if like Tiger JK can bring out the God Palms as carry team,
right.
Who knows, man? That's like that'll carry a team.
All right, is that possible? All right. So Rush Hots is asking, is it possible for Station Game second?
I wish DB was here right now.
I don't think it is.
Well, let's see. There's 6 and 5. Second place is 8 and 3. You know what? Scrolling down. Space Station, 4.9% chance of getting an auto bid. You have this in the notes, actually.
Okay, so that's right. We covered it today.
Will be.
Or we will be, right? No, but DB Smiley covered it in his tweets today. They have to win out with 3-0s, though. So they have to go the rest of the season with 3-0s to make it. That's not the link you meant to tweet. Or that you meant to put in chat. So yes.
It's not the link I'm looking for.
Rush Hots is possible, but they have to 3-0 the rest of the way this weekend and next weekend in order to get it. And then it's 4.9% chance. So Yes, mathematically it's possible. But again, that's why we're watching the game at 5 o'clock on Saturday. And then the two greatest games to grace us this weekend both happen on Sunday.
Sunday.
Right? I definitely have that feeling right now in week 9. And that is MVP Black versus L5 at 7 a.m. Eastern. That's going to be an early one. It's a little rough to get up for. At least it's not the 5 a.m. game. But L5 is looking a little bit better. MVP Black is looking a little bit better. It's going to be a game to watch. I have MVP Black winning this 3-2.
Here's the thing. I do as well. I have MVP Black beating L5 3-2. And before the L5 lost to Tempest, I would have had it the other way. I would have had L5 winning 3-2.
Yes.
But losing to Tempest shows chinks in the armor. Maybe their confidence is a little shaken from it. They certainly showed a weakness to Oriole and double support, losing to Tempest the way they did.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind this is going the full 5.
So here's the struggle. If you remember in Phase 1 and you remember in Phase 2 Part 1, the top 3 were MVP Black, Tempest, L5. And you got into these situations where Tempest could beat L5, but L5 could beat MVP Black, and MVP Black could beat Tempest. And it was like this nice little triangle of power that they had going, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tempest beating L5 doesn't make me immediately think MVP Black now beats L5. Because the top 3 in Korea were pseudo interchangeable because of that. And then they just smoked everybody else. That's how it worked, right?
Yes.
But I don't think L5 is still not where they were when Noblesse left. Noblesse, right?
Yeah, Noblesse and Nacho Jin are
the L5, right? So they still haven't gotten back. They're doing better. 100% they're doing better. I mean, they won the Eastern Clash, right?
And to be fair, they've only lost 2 matches in the regular season. They lost to MVP Black, no disrespect there, and they lost to Tempest. No disrespect there either. Again, we've mentioned it before. Tempest can come out of the woodworks and beat these teams. Like Tempest beat MVP Black at the Clash,
right,
and then lost to him in the losers bracket, but they beat him in the winners bracket,
right?
So
like Sunday is a thing here, and those 2 games are at 7 a.m. and then 5 p.m. when we have arguably the NA match that I've been looking forward to for like 4 weeks now.
The NA Bowl. Instead of NA Lull, it's the NA Bowl.
NA Bowl, right? We have Gale Force versus Roll20 at 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Now, you can't put your MasterLeague.net prediction in for this one yet because the 4 Chinese games haven't gotten the replays uploaded yet. I am going to tell you my call anyway, and that is Roll20 3-1 over Gale Force eSports.
Roll20 3-1 over Gale Force. That's a little bolder than I'm going to go. I'm going to go Roll20 3-2. It's going to go the full 5. I think Gale Force is going to look better coming out of this boot camp. By the way, teams are boot camping a lot more. Space Station boot camped right after they got their sponsorship.
Yep.
I'm going to go Roll20 3-1. Or sorry, 3-2. You're 3-1.
Yep. All right.
3-2.
Here's my prediction, and here's why.
Okay.
Lag Force is going to tilt Fan so hard that he's going to struggle the next day still.
Okay. I could totally see that happening.
Like, the entire point to Lag Force is to tilt Gale Force eSports. And they're going to do it. And Fan is going to be tilted so hard, he just can't recover. But in all seriousness, that series is going to be excellent no matter what happens.
Yeah.
It probably will go 3-2, but I want to play the odds here. So here's my thinking. So I'm either getting 10 points or I'm getting 30 points out of this game. I'm going to play my odds and take a 3-1 pick and hope to pull the 30 points out and jump ahead of everybody who's calling it the way you're calling it at 3-2.
it's it's a good way to do that. That's funny you say that. Again, with the football pick'ems, when you're behind in the standings, you have to pick matchups that like results that you don't think are gonna happen,
Right.
because it's the only way for you theoretically to catch up.
Right.
So there you go. I like it.
So a little bit of, I don't know, gambling, if you will.
Strategy.
Strategy, right?
Let's put it sounds a little less degenerate.
There's nothing wrong with gambling, but if you do have a problem with gambling, please seek help. All right. So I felt like we had to make sure to say that. Let's jump into some amateur stuff. So EU Open Division had its final cup last week, and it was interesting. I watched all the games, and we had, basically some pretty well-known teams. Other than Always Lucky had been there before.
Second semifinals, I think.
Yes, I think it's second. I'm actually flipping over here real quick to my good friends at Master League, and they've won one too. They also won one. So, but yes, this is like the second. And
they won the other time they made it to the semifinals.
Right. So, we had Leftovers in the semifinals. We had Leftovers beating Shiseisen 2-0, and then we had Bushido Esports beating Always Lucky 2-1. Setting up a third place match of Shiseisen versus Always Lucky. Always Lucky winning that 2-1, giving them that third place finish. And then in the finals, we had Leftovers versus Bushido Esports, and Leftovers blanked them 2-0. Leftovers on fire. I don't think there's anyone stopping Leftovers.
Now, I'll be honest, I only caught the finals, and I think it told me a lot. And I'm warming up to your idea of the Leftovers winning if they make it to the Crucible, and they should.
Oh yeah.
Winning their Crucible matchup. Now, I don't want to say that they're going to make it. Like, I don't want to say it's guaranteed, because LFM Esports did not make it to the Crucible last year with similarly dominant performance in the Open Division.
Right.
But I will say the way they handled Bushido in the finals in this cup told me a lot.
They look like they're a team ready, like on the cusp and ready to go.
It just looked like a very gelled team, where Bushido looked very unorganized, and that's what happens when the team's like significantly better than another team. It takes the other team out of their element, and they just it's a struggle to keep up, right? So you start looking unorganized.
Right.
Leftovers just seemed completely in control in both games. They were very quick matches. I was like, I turned on the finals thinking I was going to be sitting there for like an hour. No,
they looked that way in every match I watched.
I believe it. No, they were absolutely like I said, like, it told me everything I needed to know, because if they were going to take down Bushido that way, which is probably the second best team in EU, I can imagine that along the way they crushed a lot of other foes similarly.
Well, here's the interesting. So, let's talk points, right? Leftovers is sitting at 720, Bushido's at 535. Run It Down, who did not play or got eliminated early, I wasn't sure which, 445, and Shiseisen at 345, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you take that in consideration, and you take the fact that it's only top 8 now, and as Just Ride points out, Bushido was playing with a sub, but even last week, it looked very similar. If I remember correctly, I think they played together. They played each other last week too. Or not last week, but last cup. I'm actually pulling it up right now. First, I wanted to check on Run It Down, and I think it. All right. Actually, first, while I'm pulling this up, I do want to say that we have reached out to Tetra. We're actually gonna try and get Tetra on before the playoffs, which is in 12 days, and do a little interview with Tetra. And then we're also gonna do another interview with Tetra post playoffs, and kind of get a Crucible predictions out of him, or at least we're gonna try. We'll see if we pull that off. No, Run It Down got eliminated by Always Lucky this week, and there we go. Ticks left Run It Down to join
Bushido.
Yo.
Interesting.
Thank you, Rush Hots.
There you go.
But he was
Twitch
only
chat,
subbing.
here to save us.
He was only subbing though, because he's still officially on the Run It Down roster. Although if I look at Run It Down from this week,
Gossip
Down
Gamers might have the answers.
does not have. So Run It Down was playing with. Hold on, I'm looking now. I'm just making sure who's missing. Yeah, okay. So Kaz1752 is here. Unstable is here. Lampy replaced Tix for Run It Down this week, and Tix played for Bushido. Wait, but you shouldn't be able to do that in theory. But that's what they did. That'll be interesting to see what Blizzard says about that, because you're not like that's a straight up roster change.
Yeah, Tix instead of what, Ziku?
No, Ziku was there.
Renson? I thought Renson was there.
Ron for Tix. Renson is the one that Tix replaced.
No, they have Tix on the roster here on Gasu. The 6-man roster.
But they have Tix 2.
Tix 2.
Where Tix was on the Run It Down roster.
I don't see him listed on the Run It Down roster on Gasu currently.
No, because they swapped it at this point.
View all past players. Tix 2 was on there at some point, June 15th to September 7th.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Lampy was picked up September 9th.
Point-wise, right? But I think Leftovers is in a good position to take this all the way and definitely get the cruise spot. Like, that's the long way around of saying I think Leftovers is prime to jump in and get a spot.
I'm not brave enough to say that they're going to get a spot in the HGC yet. I'm not on that train yet. I'm not there yet. I still believe in the good guys. I know that they're struggling, but they have picked up wins in what I would consider is a more competitive EU than there was in Phase 1. They've picked up 2 wins, whereas B-Genius didn't pick up any.
But it doesn't have to be...
Or they picked up 1.
But it doesn't have to be the good guys that go out, right? Could be playing Ducks. Weirder things have happened. I guess that's where I'm stuck at. Weirder things have happened, and I definitely can see a point for Leftovers to make it in. I think there's a better chance if we jump over to NA for a minute for Heroes Hearth to make it in.
So I guess this is a good. We don't have it in the notes, but this is probably a good time to talk about the scrims that were on Twitch last night.
Okay.
Did you get a chance to watch any of them?
I have not. It's on my favorited bookmarks so that I can watch it later. I haven't had a chance to watch it.
It's several hours of Heroes Hearth playing Space Station Gaming.
Right.
And now I was watching in and out because it was just going on and on and on, and I was working on the notes.
That's how scrims work.
Yes. So I was in and out. I wasn't like sitting there like watching them with a notebook like, oh my God.
Right.
But from what I saw, I don't think, I'm sure they did when I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't see Heroes Hearth lose a match last night. Take that with a grain of salt.
Right. I mean, it's scrims. Space Station Gaming isn't going to show all their strats right now. They got to worry about HGC.
And I mean, as the great AI said, I mean, we're talking about practice, you know?
Right.
We're talking about practice.
Right.
So take it with a giant grain of salt. But I didn't see him lose.
I mean, I'm saying
that's got to count for something, right?
Look, like, and let's all right. So let me real quick. I'm just gonna hit all the points for NA. So in NA right now, we have Heroes Hearth at 600, Donkeys Are Us at 480, Imported Support at 435, and Flame is Lame at 335. Now, I think if you look at it, I think we can all agree that Heroes Hearth has dominated the Open Division.
Aside from losing the very first cup, I don't think they've lost a cup since.
Right.
And the reason why they don't have more points is because they had to split points because Mac went on vacation.
Right. So you're talking about, with the exception of BBJ and Ishbu, HGC qualified players, right? And I would say Ishbu is like on the bubble. And the same, like, reality is, you know, when he was on Team Blaze back then, they were trying to qualify. They did a decent job when they played No Tomorrow. They got spanked, but like it's not like he's unfamiliar.
No, I agree. And BBJ and Ishbu were both on LFM last split.
Right. So all 5 of these people,
either coming from the top amateur team or former pros.
Right. There's
So
something
talent's
to be
there.
said about that. Like the talent is definitely there. They've been picked up by an org already. Not a huge org, but they've been picked up by an org. I use Heroes Hearth all the time to read various blog posts that are posted and to work on builds or just kind of play around with talent choice.
Quaz was saying they're working on some sort of like Twitch stream interactivity too, or something like that.
Yes, they are. They're doing all sorts of cool stuff. So I think if you compare the chances of an EU team like Leftovers versus an NA team like Heroes Hearth, I think the NA team has a slight advantage of getting into HGC at this point. Now, Just Rai is pointing out that Heroes Hearth lost the Tomb game.
Yeah, I noticed that. I just didn't find a good opportunity to bring it up.
But still, like the point stands that like if you compare Heroes Hearth versus Leftovers, I think Heroes Hearth has a better chance of getting into and qualifying for HGC. Personally, I think both teams, Leftovers and Heroes Hearth, my prediction is both teams will earn a spot through the Crucible.
Okay. All right. I think Heroes Hearth is in. I've said it before. I think they're going to pick Even in Death. I think they're going to beat them. I don't know if they're going to whoop them. Again, Even in Death has been playing against stiffer competition for the entire phase, but I do think they're going to beat them. You think that they're going to pick the other team, which is
no.
fine.
I think here's the one thing I will say.
Yeah.
At this point, I wouldn't even try to guess which team. Right?
Sorry. Just CRY just qualified that previous loss with they ran murky. So I missed that. Apparently, I was working on the weekly Blizz notes and I don't know, bouncing around, and then eventually I turned it off to finish up on EU Open Division. So, anyways, go ahead. Yes. Picking Crucible opponents.
I wouldn't pick the Crucible opponents yet. I would definitely wait and see how it would work. Like what teams are available. The bottom 3 is very fluid in both. And, you know, anything could happen. And you can feel like you match up differently. So
I guess real quick before we dive into the discussion, Rush Hots has a question in chat. Do you guys think top 4 EU Open Division teams will beat NA HGC teams? Just to give us a comparison of EU versus NA. Like, where do you think if Leftovers was an NA HGC, where do you think they would finish?
Oh, 100% Leftovers is in.
No. But like, where do you think they would fit? I guess to be a little more specific, where do you think they would finish out of 1 through 8?
Okay, so if I was to take Leftovers from EU and plunk them down in HGC NA, probably. Hold on. I want to like.
You're pulling up the NA standings right now.
Yes, I am. We've been doing this show together long enough that yes, that's exactly what I was doing. I had the tab up, I just had to switch to it. I could see Leftovers finishing 5-6 right now. But I would caveat that and say I could also see Zealots finishing 3-4 in NA. And I realize that they're not a Open Division team anymore, right? But if Zealots was in NA instead of EU playing the way they are, I could see them being a 3-4 team right now.
I would actually qualify that Zealots would probably be a top 2 team. I mean, I guess it comes down is, do you believe Zealots is better than LiQuiD? And LiQuiD beat both Team Freedom and Gale Force in.
Zealots was not better than LiQuiD was when LiQuiD beat those teams.
Okay, fair enough.
Zealots is better than LiQuiD now.
It's amazing that they got worse in 4
Right?
weeks. Like, what happened?
What happened?
I still can't wrap my brain around it. As we come back. All right, so to get away from that.
Right.
Leftovers.
Leftovers is a 5-6, 100% 5-6. So
And
here's
then
where
the
it
other
gets
teams,
interesting.
you think the other teams it's tougher, right?
Right. The other teams is definitely tougher. And I have a problem with the ticks change and leaving Run It Down for Bushido and what
makes the other teams weaker.
And it's hard to figure out how that's going to roll out. So I think at this point, only Leftovers has a secure space. I think one of the other two teams could probably whoever the other team is that wins the playoffs or finishes top 2 in the playoffs. I think they could do something in NA HGC, but I feel like those teams are in flux too much. Schießheisen is interesting to me, but I don't think they're gonna win the playoffs. I think it's gonna be Run It Down, Bushido, or Always Lucky. It's gonna be one of those 3 teams that finishes the second place. Do Leftovers.
Right.
I also agree with Just Rye. There's way more experienced players in EU than. Because if you think about the hero, I don't want to say hero pools because that means something different in our game. But if you think about the player pools, that's really what I want to do. The player pools that are available in EU versus the player pools available in NA.
Much deeper in EU.
Right. And this is the thing that's always bothered me as an NA fan. You have CAF and K1 Pro getting recycled into GFE. Okay, that's cool. That's helping GFE in theory. But you and I both would have been happier with another warrior coming into that position and Crone staying, right? The only way the player pool is going to get larger is if we continue to push player pool as and force it to expand itself, right? So it's this weird kind of thing. Plus EU just covers way more. EU's weird. EU's not weird, but EU's different in that they have a lot more experienced players. And I'm not even sure how that ended up happening.
I think it just comes down to game popularity. I think the game might be more popular than the EU, so the player base is bigger too.
Right.
EU Hero League is better too, And
that's why you see Mutant playing on EU, right? Hero League's better there. Even though BKB continues to tweet haterade about Hero League every morning. I haven't played Hero League in a while either. It can get under my skin. Mostly it's a time thing. I haven't been able to play Heroes as much. I spend a lot. I've somehow I have all this time off from work, and yet I seem how to find a way to burn it. And so most of my free time is spent that could be playing Heroes, is spent watching Heroes. It's all that hiking, dude. It's all that hiking.
I've been doing a lot of hiking lately. Anyways, I guess to finish up Rush's question, in my opinion, based on what I can see and how I feel, I'm just not confident even in death is would be able to hang at all with these EU open teams. So
no.
Top 4 of EU 100% would finish ahead of them. So looking at Leftovers, Bushido, Run It Down, and even Schießheisen. Maybe I would even go as far as to say Always Lucky, maybe Polsko Pamiata, all better than even in death, in my opinion.
Here's the problem I have with that. In general, I agree with that statement. If you want to look at just even in death, in general, I agree with that statement. My problem is still Run It Down, Bushido, and the magic that was that roster change.
Yeah, those all right. So the next 3 teams, your
Bushido, everything else you just listed. Yeah, I agree with everything except for Bushido and Run It Down because of the I don't know.
All right, so where do you think those 2 teams? Because
I think they can do it. Here's my problem. Here's where I'm going with this. The rules, and I need to go find the open division rules, but in phase 1, you could not make a roster change like that.
Well, I mean, that's also why Heroes Hearth has it's got 2 sets of points in here. There's hold it down, hold it down,
and hold it down. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my problem, and I want to go I'm struggling with that change and wondering why nobody has said anything about it.
I think you're allowed a sub for 1 cup, and they considered it a sub.
But that doesn't look like a sub. That looks like a straight up move.
I don't know. I did it. You're right. It's weird.
Right. And
that's the only thing I could think of is they considered it a sub, and you are allowed a sub for 1 or 2 weeks.
Right.
But then I don't know why Held It Down or Hold It Down didn't do that while Mac was on vacation. So who really knows?
Because you can't. You can't do that for the playoffs. Either your playoff has to be your main roster.
Yeah.
So that's why it's I don't know where I'm gonna fit Bushido and Run It Down right now because I don't know what is correct and what's not. Was that just hey, maybe they're doing a tryout thing and they just wanted to both play as subs on the other team? Fine. You did that, and now you have to go back to your regular roster. Like, these are the things I need to make a note of that. I want to talk to Tetra about that when we have him on. Like, see what he knows. And
well,
you know.
based on the information that we do have,
they'll both be even.
I would put them. They're ahead of even in death, but I'm gonna put. I could be wrong. I'm gonna put them behind Superstars and Lag Force. I am, and I would say that Leftovers is where you're putting them. I'm not going to say that they're top 3 NA, but they're probably 4 or 5. They're hanging with Tempo Storm and Space Station.
Oh, yeah. The problem is right now, top 3 is basically the 3 best teams in NA who will take a game off somebody like Leftovers.
Right? I would think they'd straight up beat Leftovers in a match, best of 5. So.
Yeah, I meant the match.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry.
So, anyways, now that we does that help you out, Rush? Does that give you a better idea of where we think they would be, and if it matches up with yours? I think that we answered that the best we could.
Yeah, and let us know. We like to interact with chat.
Oh, it's great. Feel like we're on a radio sports show. But for
right, first time caller, long time listener. You know what?
Great.
I think I can set up a way to do that.
Oh,
I'll have to look into that. I think I can
amazing.
set up a way, like a call-in type style thing.
That would be amazing.
I'll have to look at that some more. I suspect I can probably do something with Discord and like a bot. I'll have to look at that. All right. So this was your thing. I'm gonna let you tee it off.
All right. I'm gonna try and bomb this 300 yards down in the middle of the fairway. Let's see if I can stick it. Meta update. Now, I just wanted to talk post-Clash on the Big 4 regions. Things have changed a little. We coming out of the mid-season brawl, like, you know how Stitches became a big thing at the mid-season brawl, and that international meta carried over to the first half of this phase, at least until the Clash?
Yep.
Well, things have changed. ETC is now, and now, guys, I'm just talking like, I'm not going so super in depth for each region. I'm just talking Big 4 regions, Garrosh and Garrosh Balance, the Garrosh patch, Garrosh Balance patch, kind of some interesting just popularity with the warrior supports and assassins. Just a quick update, not too in depth. ETC is now the most popular main tank, second most popular warrior behind Tahaka still, who has held that role for a while, but the most popular main tank with a 70% pick ban rate. I didn't jot down the win rate. 70% pick ban. That's got to make you happy.
That makes me ecstatic, dude. Are you kidding me? I'm loving it.
And what's mind-boggling, no ETC changes.
No, but they
None.
changed everybody else, right? So if you look at it, they changed
the rest of the
else.
meta changed around him. He fits it better now, right? So he's not good in blow-up comps. And here's my theory.
Okay.
Where did Stitches go? Stitches is down to 18% pick ban. Stitches, hook, stun, blow up that person, right? Blow up comps. In a heavy double support meta, you want someone you can blow up and get that advantage, right? You want to be able to pick someone off and blow them up before the double support can heal them. ETC doesn't fare well because he's one of the squishier tanks now, right? Doesn't fare well in a very like a mage heavy meta, right? Where he can get blown up. But he brings everything else to the table that you need. He's back because that's not where we are right now. That's just we're in a little bit of a slower meta where people, things kind of get whittled away. Support changes. Now we just had the big Uther Oriole nerfs. Rhaegar, he's king. 85% pick ban, most popular support right now, tied with Uther.
Wait. I want to go back just for half a second. I'm sorry. No.
Go for it.
I was getting your data up so that I could
Oh yeah, I've got the link there.
Interact. Yeah. Thank you for that because I was trying to create the link on my own.
Yep.
All right. So here's the thing that I wanna throw out there for you. Dahaka has a high popularity because he works so well. I'm
assuming
as a solo laner.
And his global presence.
Right.
He doesn't
that's
even really count. Like he's a warrior, but he doesn't. To me, he doesn't really count. Like ETC, New Brackos, Muradin, your Arthas to a degree. Those are your main tanks. Even though Arthas is a little bit of a solo laner too.
But what I would point out is that ETC's win rate is 57%.
That's
so
balling as far
as my cow is back, baby.
So.
That's all I have to say. All right, I'm sorry. All right, supports now.
Supports. Rhaegar back on. Now I'm going to tab it over to supports here. Let's see. Tab it over. Rhaegar is not including Tassadar, people. I don't consider he's a support, but he's not a support as far as I'm concerned. He's like some weird hybrid. Rhaegar, top main support, 85%, 44% win rate, but 85% popularity since the Uther Oriole nerfs. Now Uther is tied with him, also 85% in pick ban. Oriole is now down to 62%, so she's been hit a little bit harder from these nerfs. So just wanted to throw that out there. You've seen a lot of Rhaegar now. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna. That's where we're at. Those are the big three healers, and then there's just right below that you have the niche healers, which I think is really cool. Like, so we're seeing some Karazim being played, Lucio being played, Stukov, Malfurion. They're a much lower popularity, 23, 16, 15, 14. Maybe it's when you get choked out of supports in the draft because that's still a thing to a degree.
Right.
But, when you are drafting a specific comp, those are healers that you want in that specific comp. So it's kind of sad to see Malfurion that low after being like god tier support for so long. They
nerfed him into the ground though.
But no, they did. They completely reworked him, and he doesn't do what he used to do. He's a little more damage oriented, but he still has a role, right?
You know what I really like about this? Even though Rhaegar and Uther have an 85% popularity, Uther's crushing it with a 54% win rate compared to Rhaegar's 44.
Yeah, they nerfed his trait, right? The amount of armor that people get, still killing it.
But you know what's interesting? I'm gonna change your patch to just the garage patch.
Pre garage balance.
Yeah, to only. Oh, you know what? Yeah, because the armor was the garage balance patch.
Yep.
He still has a higher win rate, and still like within a percentage point of Rhaegar. So that's interesting to me. Okay, so the fact that they nerfed his armor didn't actually affect his win rate or his pick rate for Uther.
You know what it is? It brought up everyone else, though. I'm looking at it now. So Oriole was up to 79, Rhaegar 86, Tassadar 88, Uther 92% popularity.
Yeah,
it brought up Malfurion and Lucio. It brought up other. All right, so very cool. Cool stuff. Let me get it back to where it was, if I can. Can I? No. Nothing's ever easy, people.
Oh yeah.
All right, there we go.
Select all on the patch. That's really what you want, because as long as your tournaments are set correctly, you'll be fine.
All right. And then the last thing I just wanted to bring up, Genji, despite the nerfs, still a beast. 74% pick ban. He's right up there with Greymane as far as assassins are concerned. My theory behind this, they're very high risk, high reward heroes. When you're in the capable hands of an HGC Pro, the high reward is totally worth it, right? They do have losing win rates, though, sadly, 47 and 44%, but extremely popular. And it's just when things are clicking with those heroes, it's easy to snowball a match. That's basically what it comes down to.
Right.
Mages, sadly, and particularly sadly for Mene, continue to be dead. Li Ming's your top mage.
Mages are dead. Like, let's just accept it.
And that's why we have the cow. That's why we have the cow.
Right.
So that's why the cow is back. Li Ming is your top played mage at 21%, and I'm assuming that's strictly because of her Calamity build and her trait. Like, she, again, similarly, like when things are clicking with Li Ming and you can get a couple of resets, easy to snowball a match, right? But when they're not, it's kind of useless. So Li Ming sitting at 21%, Chromie 19, Gul'dan 16. They're just way down there. That Kael'thas and Jaina don't like. Jaina's 0.
Jaina doesn't even appear.
KT
kills me. Like, Jaina, all right, like I have to get my little soapbox.
Like, yeah, go ahead.
Jaina's like one of the best wombo combo characters in the game, but nobody, like, much higher level play required. But come on, man, nobody picks Jaina ever. It makes me sad. I
No,
love
it's
Jaina as a mage. However, I'm looking at this and it like, all right, Blizzard looks at this same data. So what I gather from this is that we should see Genji nerfs again because Genji does Genji things. But it's
Greymane
like,
hasn't been nerfed in forever. Like it had like a cursed bullet nerf, like what 5%? It went from 40
right,
to 35%.
right. And he's still way up there. And this is the reason why I told myself I had to learn Genji and Greymane. Because I already know Vala and I already know some of the other ones. But like
some high impact assassins for Hero League.
Right. It's crazy, right? It's like, and
If you want to climb, it's what you have to do. I tried. I got frustrated and I'm like, I'm just gonna play who I enjoy.
I'm so sick of like Genji and Greymane in comps. It's not even funny. No, I do agree with Just Rai. Like Medivh just needs to go. I was reading Twitter the other day and I don't remember who it was, but it was like life would be better with Medivh just gone. It completely changes the scope of the game, right?
Well, if someone can play him well, but there's so few and far between. There's not a lot of Medivh players out there. I mean, like you've got, what is it? Is it Hasuabs or Darkmok who plays him for LiQuiD? There, and then there's ADRD for Expert. There's Glau for NA. I'm trying to think if there's another NA player that comes to mind that's has an impressive Medivh.
Freedom has one.
Is it Dansky?
I think it is.
It's like, well, Dansky, I don't know. Dansky put,
like, here's the problem, right?
I think it's Dansky.
Here's the real problem. Like, it just changes the scope of the game so much.
But there's so few and far between. I understand it's dominant when you have someone that can play him well.
I know.
And especially with that protect.
Sport Billy
who plays him for LiQuiD. Okay.
Thank you.
And then yeah, that makes sense because he plays and it is Dansky. All right, I thought it was Dansky. I mean, I get it. Like when there's someone who's really good at Medivh, like it's like, and it works in a match, it's like game breaking. Right. And it's almost unfair. But the fact of the matter is, like, for the plebs like you and me, like,
no,
I mean, you nerf. No, we're not playing Medivh anyways because we can't play him worth crap. Like, you nerf him, it's like you might as well just like I wasted $10 on him.
Like, here's the thing where I'm stuck, right? Like my thing that I keep getting stuck on, specifically around this, is like, okay, so if you're gonna play roll 20, you just immediately take away. You have to take away one of two things at the start. You either have to take away the Medivh, or you have to take away the Garrosh. But you're giving away one of the, I don't know. It makes, I don't want to say it makes the draft too predictable, and it doesn't. Like, Medivh is not the cause behind this, but like when you're playing a team like Roll 20, like the draft is very predictable. Just the same way that I feel like it's very predictable right now. Someone's picking Genji and Greymane. Like, those two heroes are coming out. It's just how it works. Vala is another one. Like, almost every freaking game right now has Vala in it. It's not every game because her popularity is only 59%. But if we skip all patches and go with just Garrosh and Garrosh balance patch, let's see where her popularity jumps up to. It's still at 59%. Like, but it's just she's in there a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, she's been around forever and she's been popular forever.
65% on this most recent patch. TAS is the same way, just right. I agree. It's like, okay, someone's gonna ban TAS, someone's gonna take Genji.
How boring is that, right?
It's just it like drives me nuts.
I didn't do the research on this, but there's an argument to be made that there's probably been like we've been in like it's kind of been stale in the respect that the meta has changed, whether it's like a burst meta or a double support or a mage meta. It has like changed. Like again, ETC's back and Stitches is gone, but there are like probably like 3 or 4, maybe 5 heroes that are just Greymane. There you go. So like you got Genji, Vala, TAS, Greymane. So at least 4. Maybe there's a 5th I'm forgetting. Heroes that Dahaka. There's your 5th. Those 5,
right?
Despite Vala hasn't been changed, but TAS has, Dahaka has, Greymane hasn't really been changed either, and Genji. Hey, they're kits. It's like strictly their kits. Like at this point, right? They've just been around. They're at the top of drafts
When Vala was changed, but she was changed. Vala was changed. Oh, that's not right because that's just. I guess I could be right. November of last year. Is that when they reworked her?
I don't remember.
They did rework her. I just can't. I'm like looking to see. Oh, here it is. No, September. Oh no, that was her. Oh, maybe it was just a talent update. They did like a large talent update. Yeah, here it is. September of last year. They
it's been a
changed
year.
It. Yeah,
it's been a year since major changes to Vala, and it's like, and she's just
heroespatchnotes.com. Very interesting resource as well if you're ever curious.
So those 5 are just they've at the top.
They're staples
in every single draft. Yeah, and they have been. But the thing is, it's been for a long time. It's been, I'd say, 6 months or longer.
I mean, Dahak has been clearly the global / solo laner for like
since like. So they discovered like
time,
he was
right?
months.
Even after they created Racecar Dahaka, that didn't change anything, right? Like
no.
It was still the same thing. Dahaka was always picked. So all right, we might have run the meta into the ground.
We might have. I guess the only thing to note is besides mages are dead, most burst damage. Just a note. Most burst damage minus Greymane and Genji. Genji's ult.
Yep.
Out of the meta. Your top 5 assassins are Genji, Greymane, Vala, Malthael, Lunara, and Illidan is the 6th. Malthael, Lunara, Illidan, not burst damage heroes by any stretch of the imagination. Vala can be built a lot of different ways. I guess with the multi-shot build, you can make an argument for a little bit of burst damage, but not really. It's way clear. Arrow, Q build, clearing immortals. So, yeah, like I just wanted to make that note. Kind of burst damage is out of the meta for the most, minus Greymane for the most part.
Yeah,
that's it. That was my meta update. It wasn't super in depth. Just some notes just some things that I thought were interesting. Things we're seeing. I just wanted to bring the numbers to light for you guys. That's all.
No, it was good, right? It'll be interesting to see what happens as we move into BlizzCon and how if that adjusts at all while we're at BlizzCon or not. So, cool. All right. Current roster locks. You had an interesting tweet.
I'll read it off. I'll give the exact quote for our listeners. Cure of Team Freedom said, "It still blows my mind that roster changes are not allowed during the HGC season. In my opinion, it is extremely unhealthy for the competitive scene." Replying to himself, "Why would any team take the risk of picking up a player with no experience when they are stuck with that player for 5 months?"
So here's one thing I want to add to that. Further down, he said, further down, Cure said, recycling old players is the safest option due to the rigid rules in place. If you think about that, this is specifically why my comment earlier was that, we just brought Caffeine and K1 Pro over to GFE. Like, how is that? Like, why is that the way we dealt with it? Further down, like, first of all, we linked to this thread in the show notes. Like, do yourselves a favor, go read it. There's a lot of pros having this discussion with Cure.
And coming in with different opinions, too,
right.
Which I thought was interesting.
Well, and I think Kala, Tempo Storm's coach, had the best tweet that makes me happy. It's murdering the game. It'll change after BlizzCon. Nasmus, this was because of some 3-week teams. Like there's a lot of good tweets in this if you sit down and read it. A lot of good tweets in this from various people. Definitely go read it. Personally, so this is one of the things I struggle with, because if you open up the rules, the minute a team starts struggling, there's a possibility they're just going to go try and swap players out. That's not necessarily what you need, and that doesn't necessarily build a truly stable player base. but I think their hands are like I feel like we overcorrected with HGC, right? And while I appreciate it because Blizzard's like, well, we're gonna pay you guys $100,000 a year. We want you to have a stable roster. So I understand that. I feel like they went too far the other way.
Okay. Nasmus, I think, hits it like this is when I heard that Blizzard was enforcing the roster stability for half the season, and then you could make changes at midseason, and then
right,
and then you were stuck with it again until the end season, and then in between seasons you would make more changes, so you could only make changes twice a year.
Yep,
I loved it.
Right,
loved it. Thought
right.
It was a great idea, and the reason why is exactly what Nasmus talks about here, where he says, I'm pretty sure this rule was born from the chaos that existed before, which sounds like something from like a Never-Ending Stories quote. Back when a 3-week team was a long-term team.
Which was a thing that happened.
And I'm going to be frank, like that drove me crazy. Like I hated that. How do you fall in love with a team? You couldn't. You fell in love with the players.
Right.
So like you would follow one player around, but like, come on, like 1 week you have Team Sandwich Monkeys like competing for trying to like qualify in the EU regional for like BlizzCon. Like you can't take that seriously. Like it's just at the end of the day, like it's just it came off as less professional, right? Like these teams coming and going, like barnstorming almost. Like the heydays before there were professional like professional leagues for like baseball and stuff, like just barnstorming. That's what these teams were doing.
Right.
You know, it just, and that's what you get when you get a bunch of like, I don't know. It's just so the stability to me, and especially he mentions this too, is like the goal was to create stability, which was more important, especially for a new scene. And I agree 100%. And I think it was the right move. Now, the right move now, and I think we're going to see that, is now that the league has been established, there is stability to a degree, especially in the upper echelons. They're going to open up and loosen the reins a little bit on this.
But is there? Consider, if you will, superstars, just bye Faye, have a nice day. Denial eSports just completely dissolving because iDream went to Lag Force and Caffeine.
Oh, B-Step, you mean?
Yeah, what did I say? Denial?
Denial.
Yeah, B-Step. I mean, come on, they were Denial and then they were B-Step. So many team names. But right, so like, yeah, well,
and that
there's
still
probably
looks
more
bad.
stability.
That's the thing, right?
Right.
Like that still looks bad.
Right.
And so it's tough. Like, yes, all these players are clamoring for like being able to roster swap more.
Right.
But I guess, and look bad maybe isn't the right way to put it. But I don't necessarily trust that they know that these roster changes are going to make them better, because the constant roster swapping, that didn't work either.
So here's the thing. Here's my problem. If you don't have a coach, you probably shouldn't be constantly swapping rosters around.
Not every team has a coach, though. It's tough.
But then you shouldn't be like, okay. I know that's a broad generalization. So, you know, listeners, don't blow up my Twitter. I mean, blow up my Twitter. It's fine. It doesn't really bother me. But because I like the interaction. But if you don't have a coach guiding you along the way, chaos happens. Let's use B-Step as an example.
Okay.
I don't think B-Step needed to dissolve. I think they need to make some roster changes. But because of the rules that they were under, because I don't feel like they had a guiding hand, i.e. a coach, to help them navigate what needed to really be done for them, you ended up in a situation where B-Step instead split up because iDream went to Lag Force, Caffeine and K1 Pro went to GFE, and now McIntyre's like, well, what do I do? Right?
I think the biggest thing there was K1 and CAF were offered a deal that they couldn't really pass up from an org, and they weren't sponsored at the time. They had no org backing.
Right.
And I just, I don't know. iDream got off the sinking ship, so to speak.
But would that have happened? So here's my point. If all of the top 8 had a coach, would that have happened? or would it have been more like Korea? Where I feel like Korea was way more organized.
I think I don't know if it's necessarily a coach thing, but maybe if they were picked up by an org.
Yeah, maybe that could have been it.
It might not have happened then. I don't know. I just
like, but you see what I mean? Like something's missing there before I say we let them loose on rosters.
So there's got to be some structure, a little more structure to it. This can't be like the Wild West, and it'll just be a mess. And I would be a complete turnoff for me. Honestly, it would be a major turnoff for me. I would struggle. How do you follow Team Freedom when it finishes the season with 5 different players than they started with?
Right.
That's not interesting to me. I don't want to do that. So, but I understand what they're saying. Like Darkmock came in was chimed in. Like one of the main reasons he couldn't go pro in League was that no one even wanted to try him out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And teams are afraid to take risk, and I understand that because the decision they make it's a commitment to a player for 6 months.
Right.
Right? I get it. I do. Because you were offered a window of a couple of weeks.
Right.
Now, after BlizzCon, I think the opportunity to try out a player is going to be much more extensive because the next season doesn't start until January, and BlizzCon's in November.
Right. Yep.
Unless something changes for the 2018.
Well, that's
HGC
what we don't
season.
know, right? Well, Open Division will probably start a little bit early. Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens.
But the format we have to go off of, which is like the structure, the skeleton of it, is what happened this year.
Right.
And I don't know. I as long as there's maybe some more structure to it, I guess I'm fine with it. I get it. I think I replied to this. I can't remember. It's hard to keep up with what you do reply to on Twitter and what you don't. But
right.
Someone mentioned, and I think ultimately, like to me, like the best answer, like literally like the best solution to this, because I disagree. I don't think that I think the roster stability is a good thing. And like in professional sports, you can make moves during the year, but there's not much you can do.
Right.
Like you can cut a player, but you got to eat the contract.
Yeah.
And you can pick up players, but usually all the good players are already picked up. Same thing in HGC.
Well, it's same thing though, right? You can buy out the contract on a good player if the team you want to take it from is willing to sell him to you. You can buy the contract in most cases. It's just not going to be cheap.
It's probably not worth it.
Right.
So,
but that's my problem. That right there is my problem. But we can totally dissolve B-Step and be like, oh well, it fits within the rules. Like, no, that's not how that's supposed to work. And we want to loosen the rules. I understand that some rules should be adjusted. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but come on, like, let's do this smartly. You know?
There's got to have to be a structure. I think the answer to this, and now I'm not saying that they need to keep the roster locks for 6 months. Maybe they can figure out another way to do that as well.
Right.
But what the players want, I don't think is necessarily an answer. They haven't even really provided a solution. They just kind of, excuse my French, but they've just bitched about it, which is to me is also extremely annoying.
Yes.
You don't provide a solution, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Honestly, straight up. It's like, especially when it's just like, it's an echo chamber. When you hear it over and over, like, I don't like this. I don't like this. Well, come on, man. What would you like? How about that? Let's hear it.
Can you guys give us an idea?
Give me a twit longer. Give me a long Reddit post where you're like, where you have a solution. Okay.
Right.
Don't just complain. Like, you know how like I'm sure you like when you like manage a project or you're in charge of something and everyone you're trying to like point in the right direction just like complains about what you're doing, but they don't provide like
no
anything constructive to like how you can improve on what you're doing. They're just complaining about it. Like you just want to. Right. That's what I get from this. Like that's like bring something to the table, man. One of the commenters in this Twitch chain said, "How about paid bench spots?" Now we're not there yet. The league isn't established enough to pay players who aren't going to play. They can only pay the top 5, and I think that's very fair. What they're doing right now, paying teams that aren't picked up by orgs, it's very fair as it is. How about maybe next year they expand on it and there's maybe 2 paid bench spots? Yeah. Now I can't say that a player is going to be happy sitting on the bench, but they figure out a system where you can sub in players in between, maybe in between games. based on a comp.
Better,
Say you
have now though.
You have 7 players on a roster, and someone's a beast Oriole. Maybe he's a one trick, whatever. He's a beast Oriole on your roster. So you play when you run an Oriole comp, he plays. I don't follow league closely enough, but I know they have bench players and they do that. They switch players for games.
But they do that in WoW Arena now, right?
Yeah, the rosters are bigger than 3 for the 3v3. They have 4 players on that team.
Right.
So, but that's different. They're not paid by Blizzard. Those are orgs, or in some cases not picked up at all, like the Sneaky Snakes.
Right.
Check that out. Check out the Weekly Blizz if you want to hear a little bit more about that. Anyways, shameless plug. Long story short, if there was a paid bench,
right,
you can take a chance on an amateur player, right?
Because now you're
pick him up
on the bench. Yeah.
If it works out. If it doesn't, he just sits on your bench all season. And yes, he's getting paid, but if it does, then you cut him. If it does work out, then he's going to work his way into that starting 5.
Right.
Paid bench, I think, and I don't want to call it a Band-Aid solution. I think it's a very workable solution for this.
Yeah.
Paid bench spots. Someone mentioned that. I think that's the way to go.
Can't hurt, man. Can't hurt. All right, we went a little over, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Good discussions. That's what I like. I like having good discussions. We always have those here. Man. So, all right. So with that said, thank you all for listening to Trollin HGC, a weekly podcast about Heroes of the Storm eSports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. We stream live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrollsGG, every week on Wednesdays following the Nexus Trolls at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Bahgz, where can people find you?
People can follow me on Twitter at @powerup_Bahgz. Tweet a lot of pictures of my new dog. I've had her about 3 weeks. Her name's Molly. She's beautiful. We have no idea what kind of breed she is. We're thinking Border Collie with a mix. We rescued her from the local SPCA. See pictures of us hiking. We got some really beautiful ones that we took today. And you can also catch me retweeting and tweeting out esports stuff, mostly all Blizzard related. Lately it's been a lot of Overwatch League stuff on top of the plethora of hero stuff that I tweet out. As Overwatch League is slowly heating up and we're getting closer to the first season there. You can also watch me stream on twitch.tv/Bahgz. Very irregularly. I don't think I've streamed in 2 weeks. I'm sorry if you have been watching or catching the videos that are saved on the broadcast. I've been busy. I haven't played video games like anything in a while, and I feel terrible. Hopefully this Saturday, I will get to rectify that. I'm going to be off watching Heroes and hopefully playing some video games at the same time. So,
good luck,
that's where you can find me, man.
Good luck. You can find me at Twitter is the best place. At LiQuidGG, LiQiuDGG. Tweet when I'm going live. Tweet when I am finding esports news, just all the normal stuff. Really, my focus is primarily on Heroes, but follow me on Twitter. Also, thank you to all our Patreon supporters. If you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, do so at patreon.com/TrollsGG. You can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, that's cool. Maybe drop us a review on iTunes. That'll help get us some more visibility out there. You can also visit our website, www.trolls.gg, to watch this and past shows, along with past video streams, which can be found on our YouTube channel. If you want to hang out with us, the Trolls community in-game, just do /join /TrollsGG in-game. You can join our channel there, or you can join our Discord at trolls.gg /Discord. That'll forward you over to our Discord server where we all hang out. For announcements about this show and Heroes of the Storm esports news, follow us on Twitter at Trollin HGC. Finally, if you need to get in touch with us, hit us up on Twitter. DMs are open, or email us trollin@trolls.gg. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful evening.
Peace out.